Jake Morrison gripped the controls of his rescue ship as it moved through the asteroid field. Space rocks floated past his window like giant gray stones. His scanner beeped softly in the quiet cabin. 3 weeks into his patrol mission, and nothing had happened until now. A weak signal came through his radio. It was very faint and broken up. Jake turned up the volume and listened hard. The signal was not human. It was something else entirely. His heart beat faster as he realized this might be first contact with aliens. The signal came from deeper in the asteroid field. Jake knew he should call for backup, but the signal was getting weaker. Someone or something was dying out there. He could not wait for help to arrive. It might be too late by then. Jake pushed his ship forward through the floating rocks. His hands were steady on the controls even though his mind raced with possibilities. What would he find out there in the dark space between the asteroids? After 20 minutes of careful flying, he saw it. A strange ship unlike anything humans had built. It was sleek and curved like a cat stretching in the sun. The metal was dark purple with silver lines running along its sides. But something was wrong. The ship was spinning slowly and no lights were on. Jake moved his rescue craft closer. He could see holes in the alien hull where asteroid impacts had torn through the metal. The ship was dying just like its distress signal. He had to act fast. He put on his spacesuit and grabbed his emergency kit. The airlocks connected with a soft hiss. Jake opened the door and stepped into the alien ship. Emergency lighting cast red shadows on the walls. The air was thin but breathable. The ship felt empty and cold. Jake followed a corridor toward what he hoped was the main area. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. Then he heard something that made him stop. A soft crying sound like a kitten in distress. Jake found the source in what looked like the bridge. A large cat-like creature lay on the floor. She had golden fur with black stripes and was clearly dying. Her breathing was shallow and her eyes were dim, but she was protecting something. 4 tiny creatures huddled against her belly. They looked like kittens, but with features Jake had never seen. One had silver fur with blue markings. Another was black with golden spots. The third was white with purple stripes. The smallest had fur that seemed to change colors in the light. The mother alien looked up at Jake. Her eyes were intelligent and sad. She made soft sounds that his translator slowly began to understand. She was asking him to save her babies. She knew she was dying, but her children could still live. Jake knelt down beside the alien family. The mother reached out with a paw that had 5 fingers like a hand. She touched his arm gently. Through the translator he heard her voice, weak but clear. The alien mother told him her name was Whiskers. Her ship had been damaged by asteroids while fleeing from something terrible. Her people were called Felixians, and they had lived in peace until their world was destroyed. She and her babies were the last survivors trying to reach safety. Whiskers looked into Jake's eyes and made a request that changed everything. She wanted him to take care of her children. She could feel death coming and had no choice but to trust this strange being who had found them. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, for alien babies would need constant care. His ship was not set up for passengers, especially not babies from another world. But looking at the tiny creatures and their dying mother, he knew he could not say no. Whiskers used her last strength to push her babies toward Jake. Each kitten was warm and soft and made small mewing sounds. They seemed to know their mother was leaving them. The silver one looked up at Jake with bright blue eyes that seemed far too intelligent for such a young creature. Jake carefully gathered the 4 kittens in his arms. They were smaller than human babies, but felt solid and real. Whiskers watched him hold her children, and her eyes showed relief, mixed with sadness. She spoke one last time through the translator, asking Jake to love them and keep them safe. The alien mother closed her eyes, and her breathing stopped. Jake stood alone in the dying ship, holding 4 babies from another world. The gravity of what he had just agreed to do hit him like a meteor. These were not pets or specimens. They were children who had just lost their mother and now depended on him completely. Jake carried the kittens back to his ship. They made soft sounds and seemed to understand they were going somewhere new. As he sealed the airlock behind them, he realized his life had just changed forever. He was no longer just Jake Morrison, rescue pilot. He was now a father to 4 alien children. The kittens settled into makeshift beds Jake created from spare blankets. They huddled together for warmth and comfort. Jake set course for Earth, but wondered how he would explain this to anyone. How do you tell people you have adopted for aliens? As his ship left the asteroid field behind, Jake looked down at the sleeping kittens. They trusted him completely even though he was nothing like their real mother. The responsibility was scary, but also felt right somehow. These babies needed him, and he would not let them down. The journey home would take 3 weeks. Jake had that long to figure out how to care for 4 rapidly growing alien children and explain to Earth that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. The first day with the kittens nearly broke Jake. They woke up hungry and confused. The silver one he started calling Starlight cried the loudest. The black one with golden spots seemed calmer, so Jake named her Nova. The white kitten with purple stripes was very active and reminded him of a comet, so that became her name. The smallest one with changing fur colors felt special, so Jake called her Galaxy. Jake had no idea what alien babies ate. He tried mixing different foods from his emergency supplies. The kitten sniffed everything but would not eat. By evening, Jake was getting desperate. Then Galaxy made a soft humming sound, and suddenly Jake understood. They needed milk, but not regular milk. Something richer and warmer. Jake used the food processor to create a mixture that seemed right. The kittens drank eagerly, and their bellies grew round. They purred when full, and the sound was like nothing Jake had ever heard. It was musical and seemed to make him feel calmer too. The second week brought new surprises. The kittens grew much faster than human babies. They were already walking and their eyes showed intelligence that amazed Jake. Starlight watched everything Jake did and seemed to learn from it. Nova discovered the computer screens and stared at them for hours. Comet was the most playful, but also the strangest. When she got excited, she would sometimes walk through solid objects, like the walls were not there. The first time it happened, Jake thought he was seeing things. But Comet could phase through matter when her emotions were strong. Galaxy was the quietest, but Jake noticed she always knew how he was feeling. When he was tired, she would curl up next to him and purr. When he was worried about the future, she would nuzzle his hand. She seemed to feel what others felt. By the 3rd week, the kittens were as big as human toddlers and talking in simple words. They mixed English with their own language, creating sentences Jake had to work hard to understand. Starlight was the smartest and helped translate for the others. Nova spent all her time near the ship computers. Jake found her one morning somehow connected to the navigation system. Lights blinked under her paws as she interfaced with the ship. She was not breaking anything, but actually making the systems run better. The kittens asked about their mother, and Jake told them Whiskers was in a place where she was not in pain anymore. They seemed to understand death better than human children would. Starlight said Felixians knew about the circle of life from birth. Jake practiced telling his story over and over. How could he explain to Earth officials that he had for alien children? Would they believe the kittens were intelligent beings, or just treat them as animals? The thought of anyone hurting his kids made Jake angry. The kittens learned to use the bathroom facilities Jake rigged up for them. They were very clean and helped each other with grooming. Starlight kept the others in line when they got too wild. She was clearly the leader, even though Nova was more curious about technology. Comet loved to explore, but her phasing ability caused problems. She would disappear through walls, and Jake would panic until he found her in another part of the ship. He had to teach her to only phase when it was safe, and to always tell him where she was going. Galaxy remained close to Jake, and seemed to adopt him as her new parent completely. She called him Papa Jake, and the others picked up the name. Being called Papa made Jake feel proud and scared at the same time. These children trusted him with their lives. The kittens played games that were half Phylixian and half human. Jake taught them simple Earth games, and they showed him games from their world. They were fascinated by human music, and would dance when Jake played songs from his collection. Meal times became easier as the kittens learned to eat regular food. They were omnivores, like humans, but preferred fish and vegetables. Jake was relieved he would not need special alien food when they reached Earth. Sleep was communal for the kittens. They piled together in a furry heap that made Jake smile. Sometimes they would invite him to join their sleeping pile. Those were the best nights when Jake felt like he truly belonged to this strange new family. The kittens asked many questions about Earth and humans. Jake showed them pictures and videos of his homeworld. They were excited to meet other humans, especially Jake's mother, Linda. Jake was not sure how his mom would react to alien grandchildren. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, Jake felt nervous. The last 3 weeks had been the most challenging, but also the most rewarding of his life. He had gone from a lonely pilot to a father of 4 incredible children. But now came the hard part. The kittens sensed his worry and gathered around him. Starlight put her small hand in his and said they would face whatever came together. Nova said she could help with Earth computers if needed. Comet promised to only phase when it was safe. Galaxy simply purred and sent waves of comfort that made Jake feel stronger. Jake realized these children had given him something he had never known he was missing. A family that loved him unconditionally. They did not care that he was a different species or that he was still learning how to be a parent. They just cared that he had saved them and chose to love them. The communication system crackled to life. Earth Control was calling for his status report. Jake looked at his 4 alien children and took a deep breath. It was time to change the course of human history. He keyed the microphone and began to speak. This was going to be the most important conversation of his life. The docking bay at Earth Station Alpha was crowded with officials when Jake arrived. Security guards stood ready, and scientists waited with scanning equipment. Jake held Starlight, while the other kittens pressed close to his legs. They could sense the tension in the air. Captain Beth Taylor was the first to board his ship. She was a tall woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but her expression was serious. Behind her came Dr. Nicole Barnes from the medical department, and Amy Rodriguez, who Jake was happy to see. Amy was his girlfriend, and a xenobiologist who would understand the situation better than most. The kittens hid behind Jake when the strangers entered. Only Galaxy peeked out curiously, while the others stayed nervous. Captain Taylor stared at the alien children with amazement. She had read Jake's report, but seeing them in person was different. Dr. Barnes stepped forward with her medical scanner, but Jake moved protectively in front of the kittens. He would not let anyone treat his children like lab specimens. Amy touched his arm gently and explained that the doctor just wanted to make sure everyone was healthy. Starlight surprised everyone by speaking up in clear English. She said they were not sick and did not want to be poked with strange devices. Her intelligence shocked the officials who had expected simple animals. Captain Taylor asked Jake to explain how children this young could speak so well. Jake told them that Phylixians developed much faster than humans. The kittens were already equivalent to human 5-year-olds in many ways. Nova demonstrated by accessing the station computer through a wall panel and displaying her medical scans on the main screen. The readings showed she was perfectly healthy. The next few hours were filled with meetings and questions. Government officials wanted to know everything about the Phylixians and their destroyed world. Scientists wanted to study the kittens' abilities. Military people worried about potential threats from space. Jake fought for his children at every meeting. He insisted they were not specimens or weapons, but kids who needed love and protection. Amy supported him and pointed out that the kittens showed clear signs of sentience and deserved rights as intelligent beings. The media found out about the alien children within hours. News reporters crowded outside the station, trying to get pictures. Some called them miracle babies, while others worried about alien invasion. Jake kept the kittens away from the chaos as much as possible. Comet had trouble controlling her phasing when she got scared. She accidentally walked through 3 walls before Jake could calm her down. Security guards panicked, thinking she was trying to escape, but Amy explained it was just a stress response from a frightened child. Galaxy seemed overwhelmed by all the emotions from the crowds of people. She curled up in Jake's lap and refused to move. Her empathic abilities were picking up fear and excitement from everyone around them. Jake had to find a quiet room where she could recover. The most difficult moment came when government lawyers questioned Jake's right to keep the children. They argued that, as the first alien contact, the kittens belonged to all humanity for study. Jake became angry and said his kids belonged to no one but themselves. Captain Taylor helped by pointing out that Jake had rescued the children, and their dying mother had specifically asked him to care for them. The kittens themselves made it clear they wanted to stay with Papa Jake. Starlight spoke for all of them, saying Jake was their family now. Dr. Barnes completed her medical exams and confirmed the kittens were healthy and developing normally for their species. She was amazed by their rapid growth and intelligence. She also noted their unusual abilities seemed to be natural genetic traits, not artificial enhancements. Amy spent time with each kitten learning about their personalities and needs. Nova showed her how she could interface with any computer system, just by touching it. Comet demonstrated controlled phasing by walking through a clear wall panel. Galaxy shared emotions with Amy through touch. The bureaucratic process took 3 days. Forms had to be filled out for beings that did not officially exist. New categories had to be created for alien refugee children. Jake had to prove he could provide proper care for non-human kids with special needs. Amy helped by creating care protocols based on what they learned about Phylixian biology and psychology. She documented their dietary needs, social structures, and educational requirements. Her scientific credentials gave weight to Jake's custody application. The kittens impressed everyone with their good behavior, despite the stressful situation. They helped each other and showed concern for the worried adults around them. Starlight translated between languages when needed. Nova fixed several broken computers without being asked. Public opinion was divided about the alien children. Some people were excited about proof of intelligent life in space. Others worried about disease or invasion. Religious groups debated whether aliens had souls. Politicians argued about immigration policies for beings from other worlds. Jake ignored the outside noise and focused on his family. The kittens needed stability and routine during this difficult time. He made sure they ate well, slept enough, and got time to play together. Amy helped by bringing toys and books from Earth. Finally, Captain Taylor announced that Jake would be allowed to take the children home to Earth. They would have regular checkups with Dr. Barnes, and Amy would serve as their official xenobiologist advisor. The kittens cheered when they heard they could stay with Papa Jake. The journey to Earth's surface was the kittens' first time seeing a real planet. They pressed against the shuttle windows, watching clouds and oceans pass below. Galaxy said the planet felt warm and welcoming. Nova was excited about all the computers she would find. Jake was nervous about taking the children to meet his mother. Linda Morrison was a practical woman who had raised Jake alone after his father died. How would she react to alien grandchildren? The kittens sensed his worry and promised to be on their best behavior. As the shuttle landed at the spaceport, Jake realized the hardest part was still ahead. Getting custody of the kittens was just the beginning. Now he had to help them build a life on Earth while protecting them from those who would use them. The kittens grabbed his hands as they stepped onto Earth's soil for the first time. Starlight looked around at the blue sky and green trees and said, "It felt like home." Jake hoped his mother would feel the same way about her new grandchildren. The farmhouse looked exactly the same as Jake remembered. White walls with blue shutters, and a wraparound porch where his mother Linda liked to sit in the evenings. The wheat fields stretched to the horizon, under the Kansas sky. Jake parked the transport vehicle and looked back at 4 nervous alien children. Linda Morrison stepped out onto the porch, wearing her old gardening clothes. Her gray hair was pulled back and her hands were dirty from working in the vegetable garden. She was 62 years old and had seen a lot in her life, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. Jake got out first and walked toward his mother. She hugged him tight like she always did when he came home from space missions. But her eyes were fixed on the 4 small figures still sitting in the vehicle. Jake could see the shock and confusion on her face. He had called ahead to warn her, but actually seeing alien children was different than hearing about them over the phone. Linda stood very still as Jake went back to help the kittens out of the transport. They moved slowly, staying close together as they approached the house. Starlight was the first to speak. She looked up at Linda with her bright blue eyes and said, "Hello," in a small voice. Linda stared down at the silver kitten with blue markings and did not respond right away. The silence stretched uncomfortably as 2 very different species met for the first time. Galaxy stepped forward and did something that changed everything. She reached out and gently touched Linda's dirty hand. Through her empathic abilities, she sent waves of love and acceptance. Galaxy showed Linda that these children just wanted a family and a place to belong. Linda felt the emotion wash over her, and her expression softened. She knelt down to Galaxy's level and said hello back. The ice was broken, and the other kittens relaxed a little. Nova and Comet moved closer, while Starlight watched everything with her usual careful attention. Jake explained how he had found them and why their mother had asked him to care for them. Linda listened without interrupting as he told the story of the rescue and the journey home. She could see how much Jake loved these children and how much they needed him. The first real test came at lunchtime. Linda had prepared Jake's favorite meal but realized she had no idea what alien children could eat. Nova surprised her by offering to help in the kitchen. The black kitten with golden spots proved very useful with her small hands and quick mind. Linda taught Nova how to make sandwiches while the other kittens explored the farmhouse. Everything was new and fascinating to them. They had never seen wooden furniture or fabric curtains. Comet accidentally phased through the dining room table, causing Linda to jump with surprise. Jake quickly explained Comet's phasing ability and how it happened when she got excited or nervous. Linda took it better than expected and even laughed when Comet's head popped through the kitchen wall to check on lunch preparations. The white kitten with purple stripes was clearly the most playful of the group. After lunch, Linda showed the children around the farm. Starlight was amazed by the vegetable garden and wanted to know how plants grew from tiny seeds. Galaxy loved the chickens and seemed to communicate with them through some form of empathy. The birds flocked around her like she was one of their own. Nova discovered Linda's old computer in the den and immediately began improving its performance. She interfaced with the machine and upgraded its memory and processing speed without changing any hardware. Linda watched in amazement as her slow computer became faster than anything money could buy. The real breakthrough came that evening. Linda was sitting on the porch watching the sunset when Galaxy climbed into her lap. The smallest kitten curled up against Linda's chest and began to purr. The sound was so beautiful and comforting that Linda found herself relaxing completely. Starlight joined them on the porch swing, followed by Nova and Comet. Soon Linda had 4 alien children snuggled around her like she was their real grandmother. Jake watched from the doorway with tears in his eyes. His mother was accepting his strange new family. That night, Linda prepared beds for everyone, but the kittens preferred to sleep together in a pile like they did on the ship. They invited her to join them, and Linda found herself lying on the floor, surrounded by warm, purring bodies. It was the best sleep she had gotten in years. The next few days established new routines. Linda taught the children about human customs while they shared stories of their lost world. Starlight helped in the garden, using her enhanced agility to reach difficult spots. She could climb the beanpoles like a natural acrobat. Nova became Linda's technology assistant, fixing everything from the microwave to the irrigation system. Her ability to interface with any electronic device made her invaluable around the farm. She also entertained Linda by making the television show any program from around the world. Comet's phasing ability proved useful for farm work. She could check inside the chicken coop without opening doors and retrieve tools that fell into tight spaces. Linda learned to call for Comet whenever something got stuck or lost in hard-to-reach places. Galaxy bonded most strongly with Linda, perhaps because she could sense the older woman's loneliness. The empathic kitten seemed to understand that Linda had spent many years alone on the farm. Galaxy made it her mission to provide emotional comfort whenever Linda needed it. The neighbors had mixed reactions to the alien children. Some were curious and friendly, while others were suspicious and afraid. Linda defended her new grandchildren fiercely when anyone suggested they were dangerous. She had seen their gentle hearts and loving nature. Jake was amazed by how quickly his mother adapted to the situation. Linda had always been practical and resourceful, but accepting for alien grandchildren was beyond anything he had expected. She treated them exactly like human children, with the same mix of love, discipline, and patience. The children flourished under Linda's care. They learned human social skills and cultural traditions while maintaining their own Felixian heritage. Linda encouraged them to be proud of where they came from, while helping them fit into their new world. One evening, as they all sat on the porch watching the stars come out, Linda made an announcement. She told Jake and the children that this would always be their home, no matter what anyone else said. They were family now, and family stuck together through everything. The kittens purred in harmony, at her words creating a sound like celestial music. Jake realized his mother had given them something more valuable than shelter. She had given them unconditional love and acceptance. Linda Morrison had become the grandmother for alien children never knew they needed. 6 months had passed since Jake brought 4 alien kittens home to Kansas. The children were now the size of human teenagers, and their intelligence had grown to match their bodies. The Morrison farm had become the most famous address on Earth, but also the most peaceful place in the galaxy. Starlight stood in the wheat field, practicing her piloting skills with a small drone. She had applied to Space Academy and was preparing for the entrance exams. Her silver fur gleamed in the morning sun as she guided the machine through complex maneuvers. Jake watched proudly as his eldest daughter mastered skills that took humans years to learn. Nova had started her own technology company from Linda's old barn. She created computer interfaces that responded to thought rather than touch. Major corporations offered millions for her designs, but Nova preferred to work from home, where her family could help and support her projects. Comet spent her days with Dr. Barnes studying the physics of phase shifting. Together they were developing new theories about matter and energy that could revolutionize human understanding of the universe. Comet's ability to move between dimensions was opening doorways to scientific discoveries. Galaxy worked as a counselor, helping humans and other alien refugees understand each other. Her empathic abilities made her perfect for bridging the emotional gaps between different species. She had helped establish the first interspecies therapy programs on Earth. Jake married Amy in a ceremony that honored both human and Felixian traditions. The wedding was held in Linda's garden, with the 4 children serving as the wedding party. Galaxy sang a Felixian blessing song, while Starlight scattered flower petals that Nova had programmed to glow with soft light. Linda had become something of a celebrity as the first human grandmother to alien children. She appeared on talk shows and wrote a book about interspecies parenting. But she preferred to spend her time on the farm teaching other refugee families how to adapt to Earth life. The biggest change came when more Felixian ships arrived, seeking the family that had started it all. Word had spread through refugee communities that Earth was a safe place where alien children could grow up loved and protected. Hundreds of survivors made the journey to this small blue planet. Jake helped establish the first human Felixian colony in the hills outside town. Linda donated part of her land for the settlement and served as the unofficial ambassador between the two species. The children translated and helped newcomers adjust to their new home. The colony grew quickly as more refugees arrived from across the galaxy. Not just Felixians, but other species whose worlds had been destroyed or who simply sought a better life. Earth became known as the sanctuary planet where anyone could find acceptance. Starlight graduated from Space Academy with the highest scores in the institution's history. She became the first alien pilot in the Earth Defense Force and led missions to rescue refugees from dying worlds. Her ship was equipped with the most advanced technology Nova could design. Nova's company expanded beyond Earth when she developed faster-than-light communication systems. Her technology allowed instant contact between worlds separated by vast distances. She remained based on the family farm, but her influence reached across the galaxy. Comet's research led to breakthroughs in dimensional travel and clean energy. She learned to phase entire objects between dimensions, creating new possibilities for transportation and resource management. Her work promised to solve many of humanity's environmental challenges. Galaxy established the first Galactic Empathy Institute where beings from different worlds learned to understand each other's emotions and motivations. Her natural abilities combined with human psychology created new methods for peaceful conflict resolution. Jake continued his rescue work, but now commanded a fleet of ships crewed by both humans and aliens. Every species brought unique abilities that made the rescue operations more effective. His original small ship was retired to a place of honor in the Colony Museum. Amy became the director of xenobiology for the United Earth government. Her expertise with alien species made her invaluable as more refugees arrived. She worked closely with the children to document and understand the needs of dozens of different species. Linda's farm remained the heart of the growing community. The old farmhouse was expanded into a mansion that could house dozens of visiting dignitaries and refugee families. But Linda insisted on keeping her original kitchen, where she still cooked meals for her ever-growing family. The children maintained their close bond despite their busy lives and important careers. Every evening they gathered on Linda's porch to share the day's events and plan for tomorrow. They still piled together for sleep when stress or sadness threatened their emotional balance. The local human community had fully accepted their alien neighbors. Children played together regardless of species, while adults worked side by side building a better future. The old prejudices and fears had given way to curiosity and friendship. Jake often stood in his wheat field, now populated with homes and workshops from a dozen different worlds, and marveled at how much had changed. One impulsive decision to answer a distress call had transformed not just his life, but the entire course of galactic civilization. The 4 kittens he had rescued were now leaders and innovators changing the universe for the better. Starlight protected the innocent across space. Nova connected distant worlds with her technology. Comet unlocked the secrets of reality itself. Galaxy healed the emotional wounds between species. But they were still his children. They still called him Papa Jake, and came to him for advice when the weight of leadership became too heavy. They still looked to Linda for comfort when the universe seemed too big and complicated. Family bonds had proven stronger than any distance or difference. On quiet evenings when the 4 of them were home, Jake would remember that frightened alien mother who had trusted him with her most precious possessions. Whiskers had given him, not just for babies to care for, but the key to galactic peace and prosperity. The Morrison family had become a symbol of what was possible when different species chose love over fear. Their story inspired countless others to reach across the void between worlds and build bridges of understanding and cooperation. As Jake watched his children playing with the latest group of refugee kids, He knew their mother would be proud, for frightened kittens had grown into beings who made the galaxy a better place for everyone. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but the greatest wonder of all was the power of family to transform everything it touched.